Welcome into the Tour Coach, everybody. I'm your host, Tony Ruggiero here. Appreciate all of you that follow us, that listen to us, and participate with us. If you're new to this, my name's Tony Ruggiero. I'm a golf coach and teacher down in Palm Beach Gardens area at Old Palm, where I spend a big chunk of my time, where I'm lived in Mobile, Alabama, and have a studio here for a long time, and travel around the South and the country as well, teaching folks on the Live Tour, the PGA Tour, LPGA, Epson tours, colleges, and so forth, as well as anybody that wants to get better. And these are a collection of my conversations and the stories and the people that I meet on the road or that I teach with, whether they're coaches, players, sometimes students that have interesting stories. All of it is an effort to bring you the people that I find fascinating, that I find have a story, that I find can help all of you improve your golf game or improve your coaching, or just fuel your passion for getting better at the game. So we hope you like the Tour Coach, and if you like it, please do us a favor, like it, subscribe to it, share it, and also want to remind all of you that here at the DewSweepers, we've been really making an effort. I know a lot of you have reached out, really made an effort to put out a lot of content. I know the instruction game is changing. There's more and more content. That's where those of you that are passionate about and have a desire to get better at the game go, is to the sources of content. You can always find us on the DewSweeper on Instagram, but in particular, our DewSweeper TV on YouTube. All you got to do is go to YouTube and type in DewSweeper TV. And once again, we've got a major coming up. So we're in that stretch with a bunch of majors through the season, and we're going to run another contest. We've just dropped another Pro Work episode. And look, so starting now, I draw the night after the U.S. Open, Monday night. All you have to do is go to DewSweeper TV on YouTube and watch the Pro Work episode, where we take Fred from shooting 85 down to 75, true story, golf.com article backing it up, and type in hashtag Pro Work or hashtag Tour Coach or hashtag DewSweeper TV, you pick. And on that Monday, I'm going to take from all the people that watch and comment, that signs you up for the contest, and I'm going to draw for another set of Srixon irons that fit you, your choice, a Vineyard Vines gift pack, or a Wingman Mini. And then this time I'm even going to throw in a hat, a cool-looking hat from the folks at Epic Western. And I'm going to tell you what, when I get done getting through the Monday before the U.S. Open, we got 4 of our students in sectionals trying to earn their way into the U.S. Open. We'll be sitting there that night drinking me one of those Palomas from Epic Western. Folks, if you like sipping something cool and refreshing, a cocktail, and there's not going to be anything better as the heat gets up in June and we're watching the U.S. Open in a week, grab you an Epic Western Paloma. Trust me, you won't be disappointed. And, of course, as we get ready to head into these conversations that are going to help you with the game of golf, none of this would be possible without the folks at Bushnell, Srixon, Vineyard Vines, Epic Western, as I just mentioned, and my boy Mitch McConnell and Buick GMC, Taylor Martino and Rowan, and Blaine Stokely. They're the best. They support the DewSweeper wherever we go, whether it's on the airwaves here in our content or on the radio. So keep listening here to the Tour Coach, and please like and subscribe us, and we hope you like what you hear. Joining me here on the Tour Coach this week, Jackson Court, who, if you're watching this, everything else is blacked out but your head and your hand. It looks really spooky. Looks weird, and who's just had back surgery, laying in actually, and my good friend Brady Riggs, one of the best teachers in the game out. And Brady, are you in California today?
I am in California today. A little overcast. We got a little what we call June gloom here in LA, as you know from last year's U.S. Open. So It's a little overcast and a little cool. It's great.
I mean, that's probably a little cool for you. Probably got the hoodie on there, I see. So
yes, you never know. We could get a breeze coming through or something.
So I thought today I was perusing through the social media channels the other day, and then I had a question from a student that I thought was interesting. I thought it'd be fun to pick our brains on. And the student had said, like, I mean, how do you know, like, what's the good stuff on social media for getting better at golf? The student was like, how, like, you know, because I'd said not everything out there is bad and so forth. And he was like, but how do I know, like, what information's good, and how do I know what'll help me, and what's the best way to search for that stuff? And I thought, man, that'd be like a pretty cool topic to talk about.
because we can't run from it anymore. I mean, right? And content's out there, social media is out there. So I thought it'd be something cool to kick around. I'd start with you, Brady. What do you say to that?
That's a good question. I mean, I think if somebody's working with really good players and they've developed really good players and they have content out there, then I think that's a person to start with. I always kind of recommend a few people to students that are online, looking at stuff.
Right. I lost you guys.
Short game wise, there's guys that I think, can you hear me, Tony?
Mm-hmm. Hear you now.
No, I was just saying, like, short game, I think there's a few people that are good follows. They have good content. Same thing with putting and with full swing, but they all have something in common, which is I think they worked with really good players. They've developed really good players, and they're putting content out that makes some sense because they are on that level working with people. I think people that are just, telling you how great they are and really haven't ever gotten anybody great, as we've always said, is a bad combo.
And Jackson, I'm gonna go to you in a minute, and I'm gonna pose this question. Two things when I peruse social media. First of all, why would you take advice from somebody who's never ever taught anybody that's any good that you've heard of or know of, right? Like, there's so many people out there just putting content out, and I mean, you could go look to see who they taught, and there's nothing, right? So, like, that's one. And then two, I watch all these people and like, they don't ever have any students in them.
Yes.
Yeah. Right? Like, I mean, shit. Like, I mean, and we put out a bunch of stuff on our YouTube, but they're all students taking lessons, right? Like, man, if you've just got time to go film yourself and put something out every day, I mean, who the hell are you teaching? I mean, you can't have any students. All right, that's my comment. Go ahead, Brady, Jackson. As I eat my Chick-fil-A here. So sorry. I'm looking for a sponsorship.
Epic Western.
That's tequila. It's too early for tequila, even for me. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Jackson, what do you think about it?
I don't know. I actually texted you that a couple weeks ago. I was like, I would love to do more content and put stuff out there, but I don't know if I honestly have the time because I'm trying to balance work and life now that I've got a 1-year-old, right? And I want to come home and be able to spend time with him. And obviously, I have to maximize my time working and coaching if you're compensation only and put many lessons together as I can. So I don't know if you have a bunch of time to film all that stuff. It's like going to a restaurant. Would you rather go to a restaurant where you can walk right in and there's nobody there? Or would you rather go wait in line for 10 minutes to get a good meal that, has good reviews? I think that's paralleled in the golf industry. But I do have a friend who I know is a good coach, and he's structured his schedule to where he doesn't do more than 4 or 5 lessons in a day, and in between there is when he does content. So I think that's right. And he does that because he said if he noticed over a long period of time, if he was doing 8 lessons a day, towards the end of the day, he was getting burnt out, and he did that week after week, the quality of his lessons went down. So he decided to go a different route, and he's been able to market himself online and do some of that and make money doing content that way. So I respect that. But yes, if all you're doing is putting out videos, I don't know how good that stuff can be, especially if it's all technique stuff. And I know that's right up Brady's alley, right? Well, like, why isn't there more stuff on scoring and playing and how to shoot lower scores? And why would you ever take instruction online from somebody who's never seen you swing?
Good point. Brady, it's right up your alley. This is a softball.
Yeah, this is a big fat one for me.
From the guy laying on the couch.
Yeah, I don't know how effective technique is to convey in a social media post for 45 seconds. I mean, there are some things you can definitely pick out that maybe most people that play really well do. I think you may say, hey, look, if you're struggling with this specific problem, then this might help you out. but it's never presented that way by the people that are just, just throwing up all over social media with content. It's everybody should do this. This is the only way to do it, blah, blah, blah. If you really wanted to kind of help a larger swath of people, then you would talk about scoring. You'd talk about how to practice a little bit differently rather than, because that's not content based. That's not instruction based. That's how to spend the time practicing whatever it is that you're working on. I think it's really difficult. I mean, and Tony, because you and I've taught a lot together. We both know that all the combinations of grip and wrist positions and pivot and how flexible somebody is or strong, that all plays into how you're teaching that person. How do you convey that in a 45-second clip on Instagram? I don't know. I think it's really hard to do. But if you're talking about, hey, look, if you want to get the most out of your practice time, here's 2 or 3 things you can do when you're putting and you're doing your putting practice that'll really help you. That's something that maybe you can convey a little bit better. And I'm not saying that there isn't good content on technique out there, but I just think it ends up trying to be for everybody. And it probably shouldn't be presented that way. It should just be, hey, if this is your issue and this is what you're struggling with, here's a way that might help you out.
Yeah, I try to structure the stuff that we put out or I put out, like one almost always with students, right? And it's like, hey, if you're struggling with this, here's 3 things that this guy did. They might help you, right? Like, might not, but like, and people can look like, oh, here's a person who's doing, like, I think we got to be careful with saying like, and I even read through the comments people make on stuff like, you want to, like, a guy who probably shoots 96 and he's on there and he's commenting about somebody's pivot or somebody's, downswing and shallowing and all that stuff, but it's like, like what you said about getting away from saying everybody should do this, right? I mean, not, we got to stay away from that. But who are some of the people you like the content out
there? Like short game wise, I think that the 3 guys that I kind of, there's probably 4 now. There's a guy, Parker McLaughlin, who I think is really good. I've done stuff with him.
He was great.
Yeah, he's a great teacher and a really tour player. One on the PGA Tour. That's a guy you might want to listen to a little bit, right? He's done it and he helps a lot of good players. I think Parker's great. I think Gabriel Herstedt also played on tour. Champions Tour guy. I've taught him full swing stuff. He's a very good short game instructor. Different than Parker, a little more leading edge. Parker's more bouncy. Those are 2 guys I really like. And there's a guy in Tucson, Golf Better Tucson, who puts out great content. Really like him. Had a couple of my students go down and work with him, and I think he does awesome work. Yeah, so I'm online looking at stuff, and I'm like, hey, that guy's really good. So if I have one of my students that's asking me about short game, I'll say, hey, here's 3 really good guys to look at, to get some content from. Okay. And I think, all of us probably have some of those go-tos, of different parts of the game where we say, this is a good resource for you. But, if you have a guy who is teaching everybody the same thing, that's not somebody I would ever recommend, for sure. If you have somebody who, Tony and we talked about this one guy, I'm not going to say his name, but in a message to me, he said he was the greatest instructor in the world. Those are people I try and stay away from.
You're kidding. He really said that?
Yeah, he said that to me in an instant message. He said, I'm the greatest instructor in the world at this. I'm like, wow, congratulations. That's fantastic. So, those types of guys, I think you just got to be leery of, because while they're entertaining, they're probably not helping a lot of people.
Remember the old saying, my old mentor used to say, ignorance and arrogance is a terrible combination.
Tony, who are you following? And Jackson, who are you following? Because I like to steal stuff from both you guys.
I'll tell you, I like, obviously I teach a lot of pivot. I like a lot of the athletic motion golf guys stuff.
Yes.
Right. Because like, to me, it takes the scientific stuff of the gears and it breaks it down into, like, I hate to say it's like sound bites, right? Where like it's easily digestible. And I also think it's I think Sean Webb does a really good job of like putting some things out that show what tour players do versus what they have, that pros versus Joes. I think that's pretty good.
Yeah,
I like that. they're one of the ones. If you're talking full swing, short game, I would have gone. I don't know Gabe Herstead as well, but like Golf Better Tucson and Parker McLaughlin, the short game chef, are two of the ones that I like their stuff. Again, I think it's cool that there's different ways to. I mean, they're like you look at some of the short game stuff, and they're teaching different things, but they work.
Right.
So it gives you more things. Golf Better Tucson came to the PGA. He's done some stuff with Andy, and it's been pretty interesting. I've enjoyed, and he's a super cool dude. I've enjoyed hanging out with him. I'll think more on Jackson. What about you?
I think recently for me, what I've used social media more for is going down the road of figuring out stuff that I don't know and kind of trying to apply it in my coaching if I like it, which you had told me years ago, Tony. You had said, like, if you go shadow somebody, it's good for you to shadow someone that you might not agree with their stuff, but you've got to learn something. That's been that was really good advice for me, especially younger. I don't think I appreciated it then, 4, 5, 6 years ago, whenever it was. And I'm starting to do that a little bit more on social media, trying to figure out stuff that I might not know or understand and how to use that to benefit some of my players. But recently, I've gone down the rabbit hole more of fitness and movements, like exercise-based stuff, to try and help players instead of ripping through Instagram and scrolling and shaking my head and not watching more than 2 seconds. I pick out a couple people and I try to learn something from the fitness realm there. So obviously Colby, right? Anybody from Joey D's down there, I love. Ben Shear's stuff I like a lot. And then also other sports. Had a guy that I've been working with who's had some weird shoulder stuff going on. And I actually went through a baseball page with some throwing mechanics that helped me understand a little bit more of like loading the trail shoulder and the scapula, and that helped me a bunch with him. So I think being able to figure out that information and piece it together for specific players instead of using it for the masses, basically like what we're ripping on people for. But can I pose another question?
You can pose whatever question you want. You're the co-host here.
Okay. So besides someone never making anybody good and putting out content, why don't we find instructors who have learned under somebody or multiple instructors and go down that route? Because, I mean, tooting your own horn, Tony, that's why when I found out there were 4 kids from one country club that made it to the PGA Tour, I was like, this guy knows something that I don't know and I got to go work for him, right? And that was when you had Smiley Kaufman, Zach Suker, Robbie Shelton, and Bobby Wyatt all make it to the PGA Tour from the Country Club Mobile.
Those were the days.
Those were the days, right?
When I was smarter.
I think we lost Brady, but
did we lose Brady?
We did.
I mean, what the heck's Brady doing there? I would agree with you in that. I mean, I think we ought. I think I think we should highlight those people, right? The people that are having, and that's what I'm saying. And one of the things I want to do with golf coach development is get some of these young guys that are having success, right, and get them to put out some of the stuff they're doing with students, right? I mean, we got too many people controlling some of this stuff. Here I go, controlling some of this stuff, and the content that goes into some of the magazines and the stuff. And it's about who can I teach with and like taking care of buddies instead of putting real content out there that could really help people. There's so much fluff and bullshit out there from people who, I mean, that it's ridiculous, right? Like, I mean, it just, and then the other thing is on social media is you got everybody. I mean, one day guys showing pictures of a hot dog at the turn or whatever. And then the next day he's breaking down a tour player's golf swing. I mean, this is insanity, right? And people listen to some of these pages and you're like, I mean, what are we doing here? And I don't know if you heard it, but I said, like, we need to highlight also, one of the things I'm passionate about with mentoring is some of these young teachers that are having success and help them get some of their stuff out, because the people that are controlling some of the content and some of the stuff that goes out, like, it's all about who can I go teach a golf school with, or who's my buddy, right? And then we'll just put a bunch of fluff with an umbrella or something out and call it a good tip. Well, that's bullshit, right? Like, we need to be trying to find people that are having success, developing young players, developing people in their local areas. And I always go to what Wayne Flint said, and then I'm totally off my soapbox, I promise, and I'm gonna let Brady, you take it. But like what Wayne Flint said one time, like, a bunch of these people that are flooding everything with content, if they even taught a damn club champion, don't you think we'd know about it? I mean, they haven't taught anybody. They don't put anybody out there that they've made good. If they had any success stories, they put out 42 posts a week and produced videos in the bunker, hit your bunker shot, blah, blah. I mean, if they'd made anybody good, they'd have posted, right? Like, we need to start highlighting the people, and we need, as a golf community, as teachers and with forums, to highlight the people and push forward the young people and the teachers that are developing people and are making a difference. We got to get away from some of the old guard and the people that are just pushing their buddies and pushing fluff out there. I'm done. Sorry.
Well said, Tony. Well said, as always. That wasn't too bad.
Was that bad?
No, bad? It's early. It's early. If it was later in the afternoon or evening, it could have been a little spicier.
But it's true. And they know.
No, it is true. I mean, look, I'm not going to say any names, and neither of us are.
You know what? I'm going to have a Chick-fil-A hash brown just for that ring.
You deserve that. You deserve that. Treat yourself. No, I mean, I think some of the stuff we're seeing is just like, I had to unfollow. I was just getting too frustrated. I'm like, are you kidding me? This person's posting from a ski lift or wherever they're doing stuff from. I mean, it's just like that has, you're just putting it out there to put it out there. It's content for content's sake. And that's the thing that's the most annoying. And I consider that a me problem. Like, I just get frustrated by it because I think it's ridiculous. Somebody wants to watch it, I guess they should just go watch it. I just think it doesn't help us as an industry to be putting stuff out there just for the sake of it. I think it's sad. And you were talking about other sources, like, I mean, with Bill Walton's passing, last week, and some of the stuff that he had out there was so great. I mean, he was talking about Wooden and him being coached by Wooden, and he had a great line that Wooden gave him when he graduated. And I thought it was awesome. Like, it sort of sums up what golf teaching is, as you get further down the road, He said that Wooden sent him a note, and he said, Bill, the most important stuff you learn is the stuff after you think you know it all.
He's right.
So like watching guys like that, looking at Bill Walton and John Wooden and other great coaches across the coaching sphere, whether it's golf or whatever it is, I mean, you name it, baseball coaches, football, I'm a big soccer fan. So listening to soccer coaches, those are great sources of information, not just to kind of help you kind of get the right mindset as a coach, but also how to reach your players, and how to kind of communicate to them. Because you and I and Jackson, we're all in the business of trying to help people play better golf. That's what we're trying to do. We want people to score better and have more success in the things they're playing. And whether it's a local club event or you're trying to get somebody, to win on tour, it's always the same thing. And why wouldn't we try and steal from people that are great at coaching, regardless of whether or not it's golf?
I love it. I agree. I would say you ask Jackson talked about the stuff that he follows. A lot of the stuff I look up now is following coaches, and they'll have video clips of things that Saban or Belichick or guys like that have said, right? And I'm not an Alabama fan. I didn't grow up an Alabama fan. I taught a bunch of guys there, and didn't particularly like Alabama football. But I became a huge fan of Saban, and the more I would listen to the stuff that he talked about, about accountability and about the ways and the things that it takes to become great, those fascinate me more, because I don't watch that many golf teachers content on social media. I mean, I watch a clip here or there, but like as far as like delving into, there's a couple teachers. How about this? There's a few teachers that when they put the before and afters up, I like the befores better.
Me too. So well said.
Literally, there was one. I'm not going, but like, no turn through kind of, and they're like, and I'm like, I like the guy before better.
It's so funny you said that, Tony. Brian Lebenovich down in the desert, really good friend of mine, great teacher. Talk about a guy who works with a million good players and you never see him post anything. Just one of those dudes. But we're always sending each other clips of before and afters, and he's like, "Which one do you like?" It's the same thing. We're all experiencing the same thing. We're like, dude, I kind of like the one on the left better. I know that was supposed to be the one he was fixing, but that one I like better.
It's true. There was one where, like, I was serious, literally perplexed one time, was like, what was wrong with the first one? Right?
It's so funny.
And then another thing, okay? If you're on social media and you're just posted and you claim and you start talking about people that you messed up that have gone on to win after or play good after you, and then you show videos of this is back when I helped them. That looks stupid. Like you're just grasping onto somebody's name, right? Once again, they've never taught anybody any good either. So,
well, I think if I can chime in on that, Tony,
yes.
I think we see now it's the best way to go about this. There's some things people use to help themselves while swinging on the range, little learning aids or whatever. And like if somebody uses one on a range one time and now they play well later, then that all of a sudden that's why they played well, right? Because they one time used this training aid on the range. That can't possibly be the case, can it? Like the training aid made all the difference in the world. It's a hell of a way to sell stuff.
It is.
It's pretty disingenuous, in my opinion.
I am selling DewSweeper pivot packs, so I probably should bow out of that conversation. But I will say this: self-professed here, like we've obviously sold a bunch of them, and I really like. But they don't tell you how to swing. Your teacher can use them however they want, and the whole thing is just 3 tools so you have in your bag to help you learn a movement pattern, whatever movement you're trying to use, right? It could be what you teach, I teach, whatever. So anyways, but I will also say, I think everybody listening should go get their pivot pack so that I could afford to buy Brady a nice dinner when we teach together in June.
And I'll tell you, one of the things I like about teaching with Tony in June is that I always learn stuff that I didn't know before. Which
even
is really,
if you needed a pivot pack.
Dude, it's one of the things I like about going with you the most, because there's always something new going on with how to use a band or use a bounce ball, something which I don't really jump into. So I think that's one of the things about all of us as teachers. The reason why we're looking at stuff on social media is that we do want to get better, and we think that we don't know everything, and I love that about going, because I learn stuff.
Fortunately, I think you get to a point in your career where if you're lucky and you do a good job, you have the opportunity to teach with other people, right? Yes. And to me, like I do most of my learning either A, with things like this where I have folks on the podcast and share ideas and talk, or 2, I invite people I want to teach with to teach our retreats with us and help us develop good young players or folks that are trying to get better. And because like, I've learned a ton, and I've told people, and I tell you, I've stolen a lot of your stuff about, about the practice stuff and the combine work. I love that, and so for me, being able to teach with somebody like you. A few years back when we were at Frederica Jackson, before we got run out of there, we, Bill Harmon came and taught with us. And I mean, some of the simplicity of his stuff and the old school was great. And, being able to be I'm looking forward to June. You and myself and Colby will be in a bay together for a morning. Like, that'll be fun.
Yeah,
right?
looking forward to that.
Yeah. So lots of different ways to learn. And there's some biomechanics stuff that I follow out there on social media. Anyways, again, I think the overriding thing is if I was to give people advice, is to, one, be careful, because anybody can say, but find somebody that's made people good. And then the last thing I think that's important too is, I think one thing that's way overlooked when finding instruction is a person that matches with your personality and what you're looking for in a coach. It's not just information, right? Like, you got to have a guy that you're going to enjoy, or a girl that you enjoy being with, that is the type of coach that you need and that you want.
I agree. I think, one of the things I notice myself doing a lot now, and I never would have done when I was younger. Actually, I had a guy the other day, he's a 4, he plays once or twice a week if he's lucky, doesn't practice much, has a young kid, super busy guy and successful in business. And he's hitting 12, 13 greens around. And he wants to get better, And so he went, well, I hate the way my swing looks here, and I hate the way the swing looks there. And it's like, I'm looking at the swing, dude, it's a hot mess, So you can see his left thumb to the left of his right thumb.
You didn't like the before better on this guy?
Well, what was interesting about it was, like, it was a mess. Super weak grip, clubs way across the top, faces wide open on the downswing, uses his hands a lot. He's got a bad back, all the stuff. But the dude's hitting 12 or 13 greens and he never hits a ball OB. So we hang out, we're talking for a while. I'm like, dude, I'm not doing anything to your swing, man. You need to learn how to get it up and down and putt. I'm not touching this thing. And he's like, why? I'm like, well, look, I could fix the top, but you're going to hit it like shit. I can make it less across, but you're just going to hit it bad. If I change your grip, you're going to hit it dead left. There's just no way I can't fix something here that's working with all the moving parts going on. You just learn over time. Like, I'm better off leaving that alone and figuring out another way to help this guy score better. But I wouldn't have done that 20 years ago. I would have been in there fixing the grip and making the top look good and making him really shitty. It's just something I think you learn over time. Like, you got to learn to shut up and not change things that are working, and just realize the guy in front of you probably doesn't have the bandwidth to make all the adjustments that you're asking him to make.
And I mean, and there's just lots of ways to shoot a lower score. And I always used to remember too, like, Hank was big on this, like, what's the student's goals? What do they want? Because sometimes the student's goal isn't necessarily to shoot better. Sometimes they want to fix something they don't like, right?
Right.
And sometimes the student's goal is, I want to lower my handicap, or I just want to get a little more distance off tee. Understanding what you're looking for is a big part of the deal before you just jump in there and change stuff.
Jackson, you're it's old school. Jackson, you're still younger than Tony and I, for sure. I mean, do you find yourself a different teacher now than you were 5 years ago or 10 years ago?
Oh yeah. Thought I knew it all. And every 2 years, I think I get better. And then I look back and I'm like, I knew nothing. And I understand that pattern will never change.
Brady, let me ask you this. Brady, do you ever, I have periods of time where I sit and I feel like I've gotten worse. Right? And there was somebody once said that they thought I was losing my confidence in myself just because you question how you're doing, right? I think that's normal and healthy to question, are you good at what you do, and be introspective and find ways that you got to get better. Do you ever have periods of time like that where you're like, shit, man, like, I just hadn't done that great a job or had much success with somebody in a while? You ever question that?
I always feel like I'm the greatest teacher in the world, Tony. No, it happens all the time. Like you're watching somebody, you're like, geez, I got to help this guy better. I got to find another way to help him because he's doing the same thing he's been doing the last 2 or 3 times he's come, and that's got to be on me. I've got to find something. It may not be a technical thing, but I've got to motivate him differently. I've got to help him organize his time better, how he's practicing. Maybe he does need to go work on his body because his body's holding him back. There can't be well, this guy just sucks and he's not paying attention. That just can't be the answer. I got to look at myself in that scenario. And I think what you said is true. Every great athlete, every coach, they're always looking at themselves and asking, what can I have done differently or better there to help my team or my player or me have more success? And if you're not doing that, you're not going to be a great coach.
So for your buddy out there that said he's the best in the world at that, probably not the right path to be on.
I wouldn't think so.
For long-term development. Jackson, any more questions before we depart?
What would you tell somebody that's 35 years old with 2 kids and a job trying to get better at golf, perusing social media? Like,
well, I think I would say this. And Brady, I'd love to hear you. I think you want to pick something and stick with something, whatever it is. I mean, I think the real danger is if you try something different every day, every week, right? And I mean, I think I always, again, go back to the old saying that, like, I think everything on Instagram is like, it's like walking into a drugstore. Everything in there can help you if it's what's for what you have wrong. But if you went into a drugstore and took everything on every shelf, you'd be sick as a dog, right? Like you can't, you've got to find somebody that identifies what it is that's wrong with your game, your swing, and understands why. And then you have to stick with something or a person or a thought or whatever. You can't, you getting away, chasing that thing where every day or every week you go to the range with something new off the social media that's a different thought or a different theory is never going to produce long-term results in my. So I would just say, find somebody you like, some information you like, and stick with it for a period of time to give it a chance, right? That would be my advice.
Good advice.
Brady?
I would say too, like what you said, Tony, like all the medicine can help somebody, but it can't help everybody. You got to find something that is specific to your need. But I'd also say, like, first you got to understand what the heck is going on in terms of why the ball's going where it's going. If you can't get back to understanding where's the face when it makes contact with the ball, where's the path, and why is that happening? And then whatever you're working on should always be to answer that question. It has to either be solving a face problem, a path problem, a contact problem, or a speed problem.
Right.
And if you're looking for a position in the swing and think that's the end all be all, that's not the right way to go. You're looking for the wrong answer to the question. So whatever your issue is, you need to figure out, okay, face, path, contact, distance, something's going on there. And I need to be, whatever I'm watching has to answer that question. If you're hitting a right starting slice and you're looking at somebody who, is trying to spin their hips harder or look like Min Woo Lee on the downswing, that may not be the right thing for you. It'd probably be a bad idea. If you're hitting a low snap hook, you probably don't want to go look at a guy's Instagram page whose every single player has their left wrist like that at the top, so the face can be upside down and closed. That's probably not a good idea, but that's what we end up getting. People just are going to where the most hits are, the most popularity, and it's not specific, like you said, to what they're trying to fix. So,
and the last point I'm gonna make is just because somebody's post shows that they've picked up 4 miles an hour of club speed doesn't mean, and they take the picture of the Launch Pro or the Quad or the TrackMan, doesn't mean they've made him a better player.
It doesn't.
Right? So pay attention to that when you're looking. Like if all you want is speed, then that's fine. But if you want to become a better player, you want to control golf ball, but that may not be worth it. How do we do, Brady? Did we cover some topics today? I'm so pumped. Anybody out there listening?
As
Brady and I
always.
will be teaching the end of June together down at Old Palm with Hackett. And Nick Bova's joining us as well. that week because Jackson's so laid up, can't depend on him anymore. And we'll and Colby's going to be there with us, and we'll have some tour players playing with folks. So it'll be a good fun few days.
Can't
and
wait,
I'll be
man.
joining you from tarpon fishing. I'm tarpon fishing the day before I come see you.
You'll be right on it. I'm going to be in New York on a Peloton bike in the Peloton class in the New York studios a couple days before. So I'll be raring to go, dude. Raring to go.
Two different approaches to getting there.
Two different approaches.
Two different approaches. I'm going to be hanging out with the Captain Juice on his boat out of the Keys for a day tarpon fishing. So anyways, two different approaches, but we come together. So guys, this has been good. I've enjoyed this. Brady, we'll do a bunch more of this and some films and stuff when we get together in just over in 20-something days.
Can't wait, man. Can't wait. Jackson,
awesome.
Good seeing you, buddy. Get better.
Jackson, feeling better. We'll talk to you guys soon.
Yes, sir.
See you guys.